no problem.
Brilliant. Okay. Here we are, guys, in for another episode of the Fighting Chance podcast. And I've got a special guest with you today. I'd argue one of the greatest strikers that's ever lived, let alone for Liverpool Football Club. He's obviously Liverpool's top goal scorer. It's Ian Rush, looking very festive today in the red with the Christmas tree behind him. How you doing, Ian?
Yeah, very good. Thanks. Good.
Good. It's amazing to have you here. Thank you so much for coming on. We'll kick it off straight away then from the very, very start. So as a young kid, coming up through the ranks, learning to play football, at any point when you was sort of 7 or 8, did you ever think in your wildest dreams that you'd be in the position that you are now as Liverpool's all-time top goal scorer?
No, not really. I think I come from a large family. I have 5 brothers and 4 sisters, and they all my brothers played football. So I learned from them in a way. But at the end of the day, I would have been happy playing for Chester City. It's not too far from where I was. So for me, it's just one of them things where I just happy playing for Chester City. I never, in my wildest dreams, would I think I would end up as Liverpool's record goal scorer.
Sure. So coming into Chester City then, how did that come about? Was you at the academy from a young age, or did it happen quite late?
Well, I'm getting old now because they didn't have academies in them days. It was just like it's called schoolboys it was, and basically when we were 14, we were allowed to sign for the club, and there was quite a lot of clubs after me: Wrexham, Burnley, Manchester United. When I was 14, they were all after me, but I loved it at Chester. I loved the coach at Chester. You know, we got on really well, so I decided to sign schoolboy forms when I was 14 years for Chester City.
Sure. So your first season at Chester then, looking at your first game, your debut, how was that feeling?
It was fantastic, really. You know, I went to Chester when I was 16 years old. I made my debut for Chester when I was 17 years old. It was against Sheffield Wednesday, and I played left midfield. It was Alan Oakes was the manager then. He played for Manchester City. He played left midfield, and he decided to give me my debut in left midfield just to try and get some experience. So from that point of view, he done really well to help me, but I'm sure I didn't play too well, but I played left midfield, but it was just the experience what he gave me, was getting me ready for next season.
Sure. Okay. So next season, was that when you really started to kick on then?
Yeah. Next season was one. I remember my first goal for Chester City was against Gillingham. We were losing 2-1. I came on a sub, and I scored the equalising goal. We got 2-2. So from that point, that was the start of it then. And it was amazing then for me to score my first goal for Chester City against Gillingham, and we drew 2-2. So that was just the start of it.
Sure. And then you obviously went on to have a good season as well for Chester at that point. But at any period during that season, did you ever think that, not that you were better than this, but did you look at your career and think, I'm doing all right here? I've got something.
No, not really, because I was just happy playing for Chester City. I scored 18 goals for Chester City in maybe like half a season or like that. So I was just happy playing for Chester City. Then I started, when I became 18, people started noticing me. I'll never forget the 3rd round of the FA Cup. Well, we played Newcastle United away, and they were top of their division. I think it was Division 1 then, or the Championship as it's called now. It was one of them, and they were favourites, one of the favourites to win the FA Cup. We went in their 3rd round. Chester City, we beat Newcastle at Newcastle 2-0, and I scored the 2nd goal. And it was absolutely amazing. That's the first time I played in front of maybe 30,000, 40,000 people, where at Chester I played in front of 3,000 or 4,000 people. I went to Newcastle, 30,000, 40,000 people there. And when I scored a goal, I said to myself, I want more of this. I loved it and all that. And that was the start of it.
Sure. So was that the catalyst that thought I need to push on a little bit more then? So obviously, I'm sure that it wasn't just Liverpool. I can imagine a lot of clubs were coming through and trying to get your name on the contracts, as it were. So what was it about Liverpool that made you join them over everyone else?
To tell you the truth, I don't really know. It's only when people were coming in for me and all that. And when Liverpool first came in for me, I turned Liverpool down because I didn't think I was good enough to play for them. So it's only when the second or 2 months later, when Alan Oakes, I say the Chester manager, then said, "I want to take you and your dad to Liverpool to have a look round," and that's what we've done. My dad was a big Liverpool supporter anyway, so to go there. Bob Paisley was the one that persuaded me to go to Liverpool. He was very casual. He took me to the training ground. He took me around. We had lunch with all the first team there. So then they said they want to sign me. So I decided to give it a go.
Sure. I want to pick up on something you said there, Ian, saying that the coach or the manager, as it were, took you around Liverpool. I don't think you have a hope in hell in that ever happening nowadays. That's quite spectacular.
That's what makes people different. I think when you look at Bob Paisley, I look at Sir Alex Ferguson and all that. They spend time with everyone from the top team to the kids as well. So that's, for me, it makes them really special, and that's why Bob Paisley was special for me. You speak to other people at Manchester United. Sir Alex Ferguson was fantastic as well. So that, for me, stands them out.
Sure. I mean, during that period between sort of Shankly, Paisley, and a good few years afterwards as well, there was a long stint of Liverpool being very successful. But we'll take it through to your first game for Liverpool Football Club then. I'm sure you remember it like it was yesterday.
My first game for Liverpool was against Ipswich Town. I made my debut against Ipswich Town, and I wore the number 7 jersey because Kenny Dalglish was injured. And I got the chance to play Ipswich. I think we drew 1-1. It was one of them. It was something special for me, but no, I didn't score. But to play for Liverpool's first team, it meant something really special.
Sure. And how would you describe the pressures? Because there's quite a big gap in class between the lower divisions and then playing for Liverpool, who are sort of top of the perch, as it were. Did you find that there were many pressures that came with that?
Looking back now, no. Because I just felt it's my job to do that. And our time's changed and everything now, but for me, I didn't feel any pressure. When I signed for Liverpool, they signed me for £300,000, which is a world record for a teenager at the time. But I didn't look at it like that. I look at it like something like I just want to go and do my best. So the pressure for me was not a big deal, because it was my job to score goals. And after 2 or 3 months, I realised I was as good as them players. And that's it. But the problem is you have to produce it, week in, week out. But when I signed, it wasn't a big thing for me. But obviously, time changes and a lot of pressure comes on more for these youngsters now.
Of course, yeah. And listen, I don't think they regretted spending a single penny back then. You obviously done very, very well. I mean, we'll come on to it later because you had 2 stints at Liverpool, but we'll just touch more on the first part. So, enjoying that time with playing with Dalglish and so many other fantastic players. I mean, you must have looked at that team and thought, "Wow."
Yeah, because I think Liverpool were the most successful team in the late 70s and early 80s. So for me to get into that first team was something special. But I realised I have to up my game every year. And that's what it's all about. You can't just sit there and say, "Oh, I've had a good year." You have to up your game every year. And I realised, looking after the more experienced players, they've done the same as well. So they helped me as well. The Dalglish, Graham Souness, Alan Hansen, they're the ones that helped me on the way. But it wasn't easy. It was tough. But you have to go through it.
Sure. I mean, it's not the same as what it is now with all the sports science. You've got all the different technologies to help you learn, the nutrition. I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys probably enjoyed a good cigar after the game. I know Souness certainly did.
Well, that's what it's all about. I think if you produce on a Saturday, you deserve to enjoy yourself. I say times change now and everything, but when we were successful and we won trophies, we went out and enjoyed ourselves. That's what it's all about. It's team bonding. That's what that is. When you go out, it's a team bonding. And say times change now, but for me, you could not get any better than when we went out after the game. We won a game. We won a title. We won a cup. Everything. We went out and enjoyed ourselves because the manager and the coach said, "Yeah, you deserve it because you won it." And that's what made it Liverpool, the boot room at Liverpool, something special.
Of course, yeah, I totally agree. So looking at then, as you said earlier, Liverpool were probably the most successful club during the late 70s.
Yeah.
So you obviously moved to Juventus. So what if you're playing for the most successful club? What forces you or what causes you to move to Juventus?
Well, to tell you the truth, and I say people ask me this question: why did you leave Liverpool to go to Juventus? And to tell you the truth, I went. It was financially. Now I'd be lying if I said no, because Juventus to me were like the Liverpool in Italy. But when I come to Liverpool now, they offered me. I wanted to secure my family, and by going to Juventus, the financial side of it was a lot more than what was at Liverpool. So people say to me, "Why do Juventus?" And I would say because financially, that what it was. But you think grass is not always green at the other side. And that's what you have to look at. And when I went to Juventus saying this is the Liverpool of Italy, yes, Juventus are a fantastic side, but I realised the grass wasn't always green at the other side. So I was one of the very, very fortunate people to have the chance to come back to Liverpool. But to go to Juventus is purely financially.
Sure, and credit to you because I don't think there's many people that would admit that. So thank you for being so honest. But on that, so you're talking about finances. I remember a conversation we had a while ago with setting up a bank in Italy. So just talk to us about that because from when you explained last time, it seemed like it was a very daunting prospect.
It's different because when you go to Italy, I couldn't speak Italian and people couldn't speak English. So I think it's like, again, it's a new era now. It's they have player liaison officers now doing everything for you. But when I went to Italy, I had to go to a bank, open a bank account. I couldn't speak Italian. They couldn't speak English. So all these things were frustrating me where I could do that. And I had to do that. That was a way of life in them days. And I think now, with foreigners coming to UK now and play, they don't have to do that, which is the right way to do it, because what you really should be doing is concentrate on playing football alone, leave everything to everything else. But when I was at Juventus, I had to do that myself. I had to go to the bank and do things like that myself, where now today's world, it'd be crazy if you'd done that. But I had to do that. And then the little thing kept niggling me, where really I should have been concentrating on playing football. And that's why people say, why didn't I do well for Juventus? In my opinion, I think I did do well for Juventus. I scored 14 goals in my first year. So really, but there's these other things off the pitch, which was most probably distracting me from being the player which I should have been on the pitch.
Of course, yeah. So would you say you felt quite isolated then?
Not isolated, but I felt frustrating. It was that was a problem, just frustrating. And for me, I just feel, maybe I could have done this, maybe I could have done that, or maybe the club could have done more. But at the end of the day, that's the way it was in the 80s.
Of course, yeah. And hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? So listen, coming back then, so you go back to Liverpool for your second stint. So as you said, you scored 14 goals in your first season for Juventus. You didn't do bad by any stretch of imagination. But what is it that brings you back to Liverpool?
Realising, like I said, realising grass is not always green on the other side. That's what I realised. I had the best thing for football is it's not just playing the games. It was the everyday training. When I was at Liverpool, I'd go training every day, and it was the banter you had in the dressing room. The banter we had at Liverpool dressing room was fantastic. We had a good laugh and a joke and everything. It was something where at Juventus, I didn't have that. And that was most probably the difference. So to get the chance to come back to Liverpool was the dream came true. Like I was like Bayern Munich tried to buy me, Manchester United tried to buy me, Everton tried to buy me, Rangers tried to buy me. But it's only when Kenny Dalglish got on the phone and said, "Listen, I booked you a flight. You're coming back to Liverpool tomorrow morning at 7:30 in the morning. I'll meet you at the airport. You're signing for Liverpool." And that's what I did. I came back to Liverpool. I didn't even discuss terms. I was just so happy to get the chance to come back to Liverpool. And that's because I missed a dressing room banter. I had a Liverpool dressing room where I didn't have that in the Juventus dressing room.
Sure. So would you say that Juventus was a mistake, or do you think it was a necessary learning curve?
Best thing I ever done. Simple as that. If you ask the question, it's the best thing I ever done, because learning from going from one thing to there, I learned so much in my time, my 15 months at Juventus. I learned so much about European football. I learned everything. I came back not better goal scorer. I came back as a better player.
Mm-hmm.
But people said, was that a mistake? No, it was the best thing I ever done, because I was maybe spoilt at one stage. But then I realised what life is all about. I learned about the life in Italy, the food, the wine, and everything was. Well, I did learn that when I was at Liverpool. So for me, the best thing I've ever done.
Sure. So how was the reception coming back to Liverpool for the second stint? I mean, I know it's not quite the same as back then as what it was now. But if I can imagine, if Raheem Sterling, for instance, I know it's not the same circumstances, but if he came back to Liverpool, I think he'd probably get quite a few boosts to start off with. So did you feel welcomed when you came back?
Yes, the fans always they've always loved me. Even when I went to Juventus, there was a campaign for me to try and get me to stay at Liverpool. No, it didn't happen and everything. But when I come back, I always remember I came back to play in a testimonial for Alan Hansen. Had a testimonial. We played England at Anfield, and I scored 2 goals for Liverpool, and the fans was just singing my name all the time. So they say signing back. So I realised then it was absolutely, Liverpool was something special. So when I came back, I got an absolutely fantastic reception, and and they were the reason why I wanted to come back to Liverpool. I wouldn't have went anywhere else. I would have stayed at Juventus another 2 years. I'll say all these other clubs came in for me, but I would have stayed at Juventus if Liverpool did not come back in for me.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay, thank you very much. So coming on to the mental side of football then. So we had a podcast a while ago with Neville Southall.
Yeah.
And he said that Everton Football Club specifically showed a bit of a lack of support when he was getting a lot of stick. Not necessarily with Liverpool, because I know they're generally pretty good, but did you ever feel at some point that you should have got a lot more support mentally than what you did at the time?
Like I say, time change, and you have a sink or swim. It's as simple as that. In the 80s, you have a sink or swim, and that's the way you got on. That's the way the pressure that the club has on you. You know, your demand to be successful. They put pressure on you, and for me, I got on with it. And say, like I say, times changed and all that's difficult now. But for me, you have a sink or swim. You get on with it. Just forget about everything. Get on with it. Because I knew I was a good footballer, so I got on with it and said, "I'm going to prove you all wrong." But I done it in my own way, and I think that's the difference now. And say, keep on saying the world's changing and all that. You can't say anything now. But in them days, you sink or swim. And I was lucky enough to just get on with it. My dad taught me that as well. My dad was very hard on me as well. So because he wanted me to do well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way I look at it. Like, and for me, it's that was the way of life then.
Sure. And I think that's something to say for a lot of the players of that era. You look at your likes of Southall, yourself, Dalglish, Sharp, like the teams, that Everton team of 1985. All players who are the top of their game around that period, they're all so mentally resilient and so strong. Because you said you have to be. If you're not, then you're not going to make it, are you?
No, you're not. And at the time, you don't realise it. It's only when you finish playing now, when you look back at everything now, thinking, "Oh God, yeah, I had to do that." And that's what makes us so special. I think it makes you resilient. You know what you have to do. And for me, as I keep saying, it's that was a way of life then, and that's what made us better people now.
Sure. So Howard Gale came in. At the time, he was Liverpool's first ever black player to be signed. Did you ever find that there was any hostility from other fans towards him at all, just because he was black?
To tell you the truth, no. I didn't realise. If you speak to Howard, he may say something different. But at the end of the day, I was just, and I'm being a bit, where I'm looking back at Ian Rush. I was concentrating on Ian Rush, not Howard Gale and all that. That's the difference. But I'm sure Howard would have had a few problems and all that. But for me, I was concentrating on, I want to do what's best for Ian Rush and all that. And that may be selfish. And that's what sometimes that might be a striker. Striker, you have to be selfish. And that's the way I did. Like, and Howard was a great player as well. Like very fast and everything. But for me, I was just concentrating. I got hammered myself. But at the end of the day, it didn't worry me. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. When people started saying things about, they used to say, oh, big nose and things like that and everything. But at the end of the day, the reason why they're doing that, because they're scared of me. And I loved it. And that's the thing about it. When people start saying names about you or say something about Howard or whatever, that means they're scared because they know you're a good player. And they want you to not to be successful. But for me, individually, I went, I'm going to show you how good I am. I'm going to score goals. I'm going to score goals. And that was the difference for me.
Of course, yeah. So during your time at Liverpool then, who is the most difficult player you've played against?
Against?
Yes.
There's quite a few really, but the one most difficult opponent for me in England was Paul McGrath, Manchester United. He was absolutely fantastic, and Paul was a gentleman as well. That's what I'm trying to say. He was an absolute gentleman. He never said a word to you during the game. You get defenders, shouting down your ear and all that and everything, but Paul McGrath never said anything, and he just and at the end of the game, in his Irish accent, said, "Thank you very much, Mr. Rush." He's one there. He bugged me all the time. And I remember when it was like 10 years before I scored against Manchester United. And when I scored my first goal against Manchester United, I remember that Ronnie Whelan came running to me. I said, "Where's Paul McGrath now?" And he said, "He's playing for Aston Villa now." No, but he was absolute. And in Italy, Franco Baresi in Italy, what a player he was, Franco Baresi. He wasn't very quick, but his reading of the game was absolutely fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some very good names. It's probably quite a difficult question to ask you, I think, because again, around that area there are so many fantastic players.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to see that the better players were the ones that are the most humble as well, from the seams of it. I mean, I know you said that you were quite selfish, but I wouldn't say by any stretch of imagination that you were arrogant. You were just you were humble in your abilities, but you were very confident as well. And it was probably similar to these players. They were nice enough to your face, but they were very, very confident of what they were capable of.
Yes. Yeah, very much so, and that's what it's all about, and that makes them stand out. So there's so many great players, but that makes them stand out.
Of course, yeah. Your time at Liverpool comes to an end, and you join Leeds United. What was it that brought you to Leeds?
Howard Wilkinson, without a doubt. I spoke to Howard. I had a chance to go to quite a few clubs. I spoke to Howard Wilkinson, and he said, "What I want to do is, I want to leave in 2 years' time. I want you to take over as manager." And that gave me the incentive to go to Leeds United. They're a big club, and I agreed to do that with Howard. But weirdly enough, after 3 months, Howard gets a sack. New owners come in, a new manager comes in. He didn't see the way I was thinking, so that was most probably the end of my career at Leeds United.
Do you feel that you underperformed at Leeds?
I didn't underperform. I felt I played out of position. I played right midfield when George Graham came in and played me in right side midfield. He most probably didn't want me to say. He most probably wanted to say I wasn't going to play there. But I give 100%. Doesn't matter which team I play for. I'll give 100% and do that. But maybe I didn't perform maybe like I should have. But I'd always give 100%. That's all I can say. One thing you get from me, whatever I do, is you get 100%. So when I got asked to play right midfield, when George Graham took over as manager, said, "No, and you're playing right midfield. You don't have to play if you don't want to." I said, "No, I'll play there." So I played in right midfield, and I gave 100%. So from that point of view, I'll always give 100%. Maybe I didn't perform like I could. I was getting older as well, by the way. But I felt I helped younger players come along as well. Leeds United had a young side then, but I was passing my experience when I learned at Liverpool to these the Leeds United's youngsters.
Sure, and I think that gets twisted quite a lot as well. So you've gone from being Liverpool's front man to on the wing for Leeds. So you're not the goal scorer anymore, are you? It's not your job. I mean, of course, if you get the position, you take the shot, but it's your roles are totally different on the wing than what it is to being a striker. So I think that there's a lot to be said for just looking at your goals, because I think that's what you're known for at Liverpool. So people look at Leeds and say, oh, you only scored 3 goals, like what you're playing at. But as you said, it's totally different.
Yeah, you're just passing on experience, and that's what it's all about. I didn't get the chance to maybe play what I should have, but for me, my job is to pass experience on to the younger generation, and that's what I felt I'd done at Leeds. I was captain of Leeds United as well, so at the end of the day, if you're captain, you have to show a leadership, and it's not just by scoring goals, it's by helping other people off the pitch as well, on and off the pitch, and that's what I felt. I felt I did do that at Leeds United. I passed my experience on to the younger generation.
Would you take credit then for their success around that sort of time?
No, I would never take it, because that's down to different people. And like I say, I'm not going to lie to people. I wouldn't say I don't need that. So for me, it was just like helping the younger generation. What they do after, it's up to them. So they all, whoever after Leeds successful, they have to. Them players take the credit, not me. Because they've learned from that, but they still have to do it. We can tell, it's like a school team. You can tell someone what to do, but then people still have to go out there and do it. And then players at that time at Leeds United went out there and done it. So the players deserve the credit, not me.
Of course, yeah. We'll come on to international duty then. So you get your first call up to Wales. Was that when you was at Liverpool? Or was you at Chester City at the time? I think it was at Liverpool, wasn't it?
I just signed for Liverpool, yeah.
Yeah. So this is a question. I don't know if you know the answer or not. Do you know if you was called to the Wales team when you was at Chester?
Yes. The Welsh manager Mike England he came to watch me playing for Chester, and I knew that he met me, but in my wildest dream I never thought I'd be play for my country. But he came and watched me. I had a good game and all that. So when I signed for Liverpool, then he decided to put me in the Welsh squad for the home internationals.
Okay, so that's interesting. It wasn't you're playing for Liverpool. It was actually for Chester City. They got you the call up pretty much, which is interesting. I presume you remember your debut as well.
Yeah, my debut was 1981, I think, against Scotland. Weirdly enough, Liverpool had just won the European Cup. We beat in Paris. We beat Real Madrid 1-0, and I was in the squad for that game. And after that game, we joined up to the Welsh squad, because in them days you had the home internationals, and we played England at Wrexham, and we beat England 4-1. I was on the bench. I didn't get on. I was on the bench. So when I seen the atmosphere, Wales beating England 4-1 was amazing. It's absolutely amazing. So I want to be part of that. So the next game on the Wednesday, we played Scotland. And I was on the bench again, and Ian Walsh was playing for Crystal Palace and also for Wales. Then he came off injured, so that's when I decided. After I made my debut, Mike England put me on. We got beat 1-0 against Scotland, but to make my Welsh debut in Scotland was a dream came true. My dad would be my biggest Welsh nationalist, I think, but he was so proud. He was so proud that I made my debut for Wales.
Of course, yeah. What was your favourite goal for Wales?
Oh, people ask me. It's a great question, that, because people ask me my favourite goal for Liverpool, and I tell them I don't have a favourite goal for Liverpool, because it's my job, my bread and butter, to score goals for Liverpool, whether it's from 1 yard or 20 yards out. That's my job. But when people ask me favourite goal for Wales, it's only one. It's the one when we beat Germany 1-0. They were world champions, and they was Germany just united. West Germany and East Germany are just united, and they became Germany. They were the world champions. We played at Cardiff, and they was. I remember. I'll never forget Jurgen Klinsmann. He came to me before the game and said, "Can we swap shirts after the game?" Because normally it's a centre half, but when Jurgen Klinsmann said, "Yeah," I said, "Yeah, that'd be great to swap shirts and all that." So. We played there, and Germany were the best team in the world, and to score the winning goal against them at Cardiff was absolutely amazing. And people talk about me scoring. I'm known for scoring that goal against Germany, but if you ever look at the last 10 minutes when Germany had a man sent off as well, Neville Southall, he made about 3 amazing saves. And no one gets the credit. Neville doesn't get the credit what he had, but I scored the winning goal, and it was for me that was absolutely amazing, and that's my favourite goal for Wales.
Sure. Picking up on that as well, I don't think defenders or goalkeepers get enough credit. I mean, you look at the nowadays, there's certainly, like you look at Van Dijk and Alisson for Liverpool, they're certainly getting the credit now, but it always gets outshone as soon as the striker does anything worthy or they win a game. Everything else goes out the window. It's all about the striker, isn't it? I don't think that will ever change in football.
No, that'll never change. That's the way it is. You have to accept that. And goalkeepers are goalkeepers for a reason, you know. But I would go as far as say Neville Southall was the best goalkeeper in the world for about 5 years. Because he was Welsh, he didn't get the recognition. I'm telling you now, if he'd been English, he'd been higher up there, or been Italian or French, he'd been up there. But he was the best goalkeeper in the world for 5 years. He saved Wales from loads of things. Like I say, I'll get the glory. But what Neville done was one of them was something absolutely amazing.
Of course, yeah. I said this on the podcast with him as well, that he was, I mean, he's before my time, unfortunately. Yeah. But we got a couple of guys who work with us who are, that's his era. Like he grew up watching Southall and yourself and others. And he said that Southall was without doubt the best keeper in the world, if not just an 85 season. As you said, probably a good five years. He was absolutely phenomenal. But we'll go back then. So I know you said you didn't have a favourite goal for Liverpool. Yeah. Do you have a goal in your head that you would say is the most important that you scored for Liverpool?
No, because they're all important to me. Because for me, when I score a goal and I see the smiles on the faces of the people in the Kop, I want to go and score another one. And that's my job. I do not have a favourite goal because that's my job. It's my bread and butter to score goals. And when they're all smiling, you want to go and do the same again. I have a favourite game, but I don't have a favourite goal. At Liverpool, it was one of them to say, yes, when you see them, it's amazing. Like when you look back now and say, when you scored a goal, they're so proud that I scored a goal. I said, I want to score another one. I want to score another one. And that's, so I actually don't have a favourite game, but not a favourite goal.
Sure. What was your favourite game then?
I knew you were going to say that. No, my favourite game was 1986 FA Cup final. Because for a reason, it's different now with kids now. It's a Champions League final, isn't it? But for me, when I was a kid, I used to watch the FA Cup final. It used to be on 9 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock in the evening. And I used to go there, and at 5 o'clock in the evening, I used to go in my back garden and pretend I was the one that scored the winning goal in the FA Cup final. That was me. Like, so when I signed for Liverpool in 1980, we're saying, oh yeah, I'd won the Champions League twice. I'd won the league. I'd won the League Cup. I won everything but the FA Cup. We kept on losing in the FA Cup. But in 1986, when we played Everton, the first ever Merseyside derby, in the final, was my dream came true. We beat Everton 3-1. We'd done a double, but my dream was to score the winning goal in the FA Cup final, and we beat Everton 3-1. I scored 2 goals, so my dream came true that day. And believe me, I didn't go to bed that night. I stayed up all night because my dream came true. Like I say to all the kids, I went to do coaching and all that. Have a dream, believe in that dream, work hard at your dreams. Your dreams can come true. My dream came true in 1986. It doesn't have to be football. It can be anything what you're doing in life. But always have a dream and believe in a dream. But you have to work hard, but they can come true. And my dream came true in 1986.
Sure. And what a game it was as well. And again, it was before my time, but I've seen plenty of highlights. And again, I keep coming back to Southall, but I remember taking a photo to him. So you self-signed it when we met you, and then I took the same photo to Southall to be signed as well. And he looked at me and went, "You want me to sign this shit?"
That'd be Neville, yeah.
Yeah, he was fuming. But again, Neville's a really, really lovely bloke. And of course he signed it as well, which is brilliant. I just want to come on to, you had a brief management spell at Chester City, didn't you?
Yeah.
So what made you take that? Because that was it was a considerable time after you finished playing football, and you've, as far as I know, you've not done anything since.
No. Well,
why did you take it?
Well, I took it because God bless him, Gerard Houllier. He was at manager Liverpool. He told me to go and take the job. And I was at Chester. I'm from Chester as well, so I decided to give it a go. And I was actually very successful. If you look at the run, like we went. I got manager a month a couple of times, and things changed. When the most important thing you realise is you go into be a manager, you have to have a connection with the owner and yourself. And I had the owner of Chester Club at the time. We had a bit of a fallout, and so he sacked my assistant manager. So without telling me, so he sacked him. So I decided to leave. No, we've done really well. We bottomed the league when I went to Chester. We bottomed the league too, and the job was to save us. So after I think about 10 or 12, we were done really well. So next thing you need to get promotion. So that's how time changed. It went from saving us from relegation to we need promotion.
Mm-hmm.
That's how good I'd done. So we got to do that. Then we sold. We had I sold one player to Sunderland for 160,000. I sold another one to Hull City for 110,000. So that's how well did. But you need something to keep you going, and that we didn't have the resources to do that. So, and when my assistant manager was sacked, I decided I would leave as well, because at the end of the day, it's I just wanted to believe in my team. This is my team, and when the assistant manager got sacked, I decided to leave myself.
Sure. Do you think
I was also offered, since then I've been offered quite a lot of jobs, but I decided it's difficult because it's 24/7, by the way, when you're looking after people. It's very, these managers now, how they do it, I don't know, because they're amazing what they do. But for me, I decided to go about it a different way.
Sure. So when you left Chester, do you think that experience put you off management entirely, or do you think, just as you said, the change of the game, do you think that was a catalyst as well?
No, I was actually, people don't know if you know, I was the manager of Wales under-17s, and we qualified for the highest they've ever been. So I was doing that while I was managing Chester as well. So,
oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, from that point of view, it was one of them. So I was the elite performance director in the Welsh FA Trust as well till 2 years ago. So I knew everything what's going on. It's knowing because I look at it where I've been spoiled because I have the best job in the world working for Liverpool Football Club.
Mm-hmm.
I have, and it'll take something special to get me out of that. And you can say it's not lazy. It's just been, I travelled the world before COVID and all that. I was travelling the world. I've seen everything. Liverpool Football Club is one of the biggest brands in the world. And by doing that, I have the chance to do that. For me, I love my job, what I'm doing. And I will recently, you might know, sooner or later, than I'm going to be back involved in the Welsh FA as well. So that's something for you. So,
spoiler alert.
But it's something for me. Yeah. So remember that. Yeah. So coming back now, but I do have working for Liverpool Football Club. For me, is you can't beat that. So we'd have to take something special to get me back to management.
Of course, yeah. So looking at the current managers now, then obviously Stevie G, he was during his time. I think it's fair to say that it wasn't a bad squad, but he definitely dragged Liverpool through the mud on more than several occasions. Yeah. I mean, I think he's well renowned for the Champions League final, but I think the FA Cup final was his final, wasn't it? He was a sensational player, but you look at him now and he's almost doing exactly the same in management, isn't he? Like, he's absolutely flying. You see some players who are sensational footballers, and then they come to management and they fall short. And I think that just shows such a vast gap. I mean, you look at Frank Lampard. Frank Lampard was a sensational footballer, and then he managed at Derby and Chelsea. And I wouldn't say he'd done bad, but the comparisons are totally different.
Yeah. I think when you look at Stevie, he learned at the academy at Liverpool, under the 23s. He's done that. He's progressing. So he went to Rangers. He's done really, really well. But he his own look. He's absolute, for me, I think he's absolutely a gentleman as well, but he just demands what he did when he was playing. It's as simple as that. When he was playing, he demands that. He 100%. He demands that from all his players, and he's got a huge amount of respect. And I think he's got a good backroom staff, which is important as well. Gavin McAllister's there with him and all that. People talk about that, but you need your right backroom staff. Jurgen Klopp's got that now. I think Pep Guardiola's got that now, and that makes a big difference.
Sure, yeah, huge difference. It's interesting you say about Klopp and Pep. So I've got my own views on who's the better manager. Bias aside, because I know Jurgen's obviously the manager of Liverpool. Who would you say is the better manager of the two?
You can't ask me that question. Because I know Pep as well, and he's a gentleman as well. This is why these two. You talk about these two. They have total respect for each other, and that's the difference about it. It's they know how hard work it is and all that. Yet they get well paid and all that, but they put the work in. But for me, you can't ask that question because I think they're both different ways.
Of course,
different ways, but they're both, for me, they command respect and they know everything about what's going on.
Do you think they're the two best managers then?
They're the two, yeah.
Yeah.
Without doubt, in my opinion. Yeah.
Sure, yeah. Some of the things they've done with the squad, I think those two have completely changed the way football's played as well. And some of the football you see them play, it's all one touch moving. But then I say that I don't think it's that much different from the football that you played, Ian, in your team, because you guys press from the front as well.
Yeah, that's why we won everything, because we pressed from the front. We've been in the 1980s. No, we were doing that then. So, but the good thing about Pep and Klopp is that the hardest thing in football is keeping the players happy who are not playing. Not those who are playing. Those are not playing. They are good at keeping this squad together. Players who are not playing because they get miserable, they start arguing. That's what, for me, that's what makes them so special, because they're looking after people who are not playing. And that, believe me, that is our thing to do. Because if I wasn't playing, I'd ask for a move. I'd say, I want this, I want that. So to keep all these players, because it's such a special squad, to keep them players who are not playing, for me, stand, and they are, makes them so special.
Sure. To be fair, Ian, I think Jurgen just needs to cuddle his players. Now you'll think it's fantastic and they're happy again anyway. I'm 5'8", and I think if that man cuddled me, I'd be happy for years. Some amazing answers there, Ian. Just coming on to the current team now. Do you think, the current football, not the current team. Do you see any players that are playing now who have a similar playing style to what you had when you played?
It's different now. I think it's, I was lucky enough to play in a great team. I was a goal scorer. It is difficult because for me, the one I looked at, the nearest one for me was, it was Aguero when he played for Manchester City, because he was a goal scorer. You look at Salah, Mane, Jota, things like that, Liverpool. They're different players. They're more most probably more skillful than me. It's one of them. But I was a goal scorer. I worked hard to close people down. I'd done that. But I was a goal scorer. So the nearest one then for me I would say Aguero when he was playing for Manchester City, because when he was going to score a goal. Simple as that.
Yeah, and he can score from anywhere, just like you as well.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter where he got the ball, left foot, right foot, header, didn't matter. It was a goal.
Well, that's the thing when you're saying, for me, I can kick with both feet. My question when I do coaching, my question is, what foot do you kick with? What foot do you kick with?
Left.
Well, that's the wrong answer, because you say both.
yeah. True.
That's to me. Then you have to say. So you have to tell kids. You have to be confident. Say, look, well, go and practice. If you go and practice with your right foot, then if you're left-footed, you should be. The answer is both. And I could kick with both feet. And for me, that made a big difference. Where defenders, if you only kick with your left, I've seen Salah over the last year or so. He scored goals with his right foot. But maybe 2-3 years ago, he'd go all round with his left. And that's a different now. Defenders now, oh, I don't know where to take him. Where like 2 years ago, I'll take him on his right because he's not going to shoot there now. But now they're saying, oh, I don't know what to do. And that's what given Salah that chance to get that extra yard in.
Yeah, and do you know what? I picked up on that a fair few weeks ago. I think that's a big part in my opinion anyway. I think he's the best player in the world right now. And I don't think there's anyone that's close to him. And I think you're right. A big part of that is just being the unpredictability of it.
He's fantastic for me. I think he's upped his game because I know him quite well, Mo, and he wants to up his game. He wants to know, he wants to improve, he wants to be the best in the world. And for me, he's playing in the hardest league in the world, right? And he's actually upped his game. He's been absolutely fantastic. And for me, yeah, he's the best player in the world. Lewandowski is another one, which is fantastic. But again, I might be biased now, but I think Mo Salah is, for me, is a joy to watch.
Oh, yeah, he's absolutely fantastic. Here's a question for you then. So, looking back at your playing time, who did you enjoy beating more, United or Everton?
It would be Everton because I was supporting Everton as a kid. When I was a kid, I was an Everton supporter. And I remember Gordon Lee was the Everton manager when I was playing for Chester, came to watch me. It was newspapers in them days, not like social media. No, he said, basically said I wasn't good enough to play for Everton. And I was gutted. I was absolutely gutted. And 3 months later, I signed for Liverpool. And my thing was, I'm going to make Everton pay for that. That's the way it is. And Manchester United, for me, Liverpool, Manchester United, 2 biggest clubs in the world. But again, I didn't score many goals against Manchester United, so because of Paul McGrath. So it would be absolutely Everton for me.
Sure. And just one final question to end off with then. Who is the best player that you personally ever played with? So we'll do a 2-parter. We'll look at just club level and then we'll go international as well.
Club level's only one, Kenny Dalglish. Kenny Dalglish was absolutely unbelievable. He just tell me when I first got aside, he said, when I get the ball, you just run there, I'll pass it. And I said, yes. I went, but I just looked at him, are you serious? You can't even do that. But I'll never forget when he actually done it. He actually put the ball, but I didn't run. The face he gave me then, I went, oh God, don't worry, next time I will do it. And that was something I didn't think anyone could put the ball where Kenny said he's going to put it. And he put the ball exactly where he said he's going to do it. So tell me once, tell me twice, then I know what to do. And we had the thing, and the connection that myself and Kenny had was absolutely unbelievable. Skill-wise, I would say when I was at Juventus, Michael Laudrup was absolutely, he's the most skillful player I've ever played with. And I'm talking about, you got John Barnes and Jan Moby as well, Liverpool. But Michael Laudrup had something even more than that, because when I seen that at Juventus, he was amazing. But it'd have to be Kenny Dalglish.
Sure, yeah. I saw that coming a mile off, to be honest. It was I should have excluded him. What about Wales then? Who's the best player you had with Wales?
Wales, it was, you had a young Ryan Giggs coming through. Okay. Ryan wasn't in his prime when I was there. I think Ryan went on to be more successful. I think he was very, very skillful and all that. But for me, I would go, because when you're Neville Southall, you're Kevin Ratcliffe and all the defenders. But as a striker, I thought Mark Hughes, he was strong and all that. And we worked many times well together when Marcus took all the stick and I scored the winning goal. Even though Mark Hughes could score wonder goals, he scored some wonder goals for Wales. But I thought when we played together, we worked well. He took all the stick, and I'd get the rebounds off him. And he was happy to do that. But when he scored one goal against Spain, a volley, was an absolute wonder goal. So I say from that point of view, I'd say Mark Hughes.
Sure. You talk about one of the goals from Mark Hughes. So I don't know if you remember his time at Man City when he was in management. No. He was doing a shooting drill, and it was basically shots from the box. And I think he was just getting frustrated with the players. So he was like, I'll go and have a go. And the ball got pinged into him on the just on the D in the air, and he just volleyed it top bins. And everyone else just went, oh. And you're talking like this is when you had players like Tevez and other people at the team. And he just completely showed him up, and it just shows that you never lose it.
No, you never lose it. No, his volleying was absolutely fantastic, but he worked hard for the team as well. So, but I don't remember that, but it's something which you cannot lose.
Sure, but it's on YouTube. I advise you look at it because it's a fantastic
I'll
finish.
look at that.
Brilliant. Ian, you've been a wonderful guest. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
As I said, you've given us some great insight into your playing career and some very honest answers there as well. And I'm sure the listeners will send you their best wishes and have a very Merry Christmas as well.
Merry Christmas to you too. Take care. Stay safe.
You too, mate. Take care.